What is up, wrestling fans? It is that time of the week for the Fanlight Zone Wrestling Team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of Fanlight Zone Presents 607 TWS The Wrestling Show, powered by FanlightZone.com. Of course, I am your host, and I'm also the executive producer here at Fanlight Zone. My name is Rich, and you can kind of hear her. She is joining me in the co-pilot's chair, but I have a special introduction because I'm just going to go through her introduction and bring her up because, trust me, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, my co-host, she's here. You know her. She is, of course, the guru of cosplay, which you're going to see in a second. She is the hunter of the Pokemans because she's got to catch them all. And, of course, most importantly for this show, she is the connoisseur of pro grappling. She is the first lady of Fanlight Zone. She is the one and only Spider Sammy. What is up, Spider Sammy? Miss Sammy, looking the cosplay guru.
Listen, I had to swing in from Queens to come in and help do the show. Listen, in honor of the new Spider-Man movie this week, go check out the reviews that we did on Fanlight Zone. But I figured you call me the guru of cosplay. I haven't done besides a little Danhausen, but we got a couple of big conventions this weekend, so I had to suit up.
Absolutely. It's great. I'm glad to have the Spider Sammy on. Of course, I know we will be losing the mask here in a second because I'm sure you're wonderfully warm. So I'm actually going to go and do the plugs right now. Of course, as Sammy mentioned, head over to fanlightzone.com. Check out our written review for there's a full written review by Ken M, the editor-in-chief for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Also, the team put out some thoughts that we put together this past week as well for Spider-Man Brand New Day. So you want to check that out, as well as all of the amazing comic book reviews that come to you each and every Wednesday. Of course, they're on the site. Go back and look at the older ones as well, because there's nobody that does new comic book day and comic book reviews like Fanlight Zone. I promise you that much. And while you're at it, or while you're over at the fanlightzone.com, find out where all of our social medias are. You can get all the links there and make sure you're following us on all the social medias, because I know Ken M is speaking for wrestling fans. He likes to live post during a lot of wrestling events, including the big pay-per-views, including this past weekend at SummerSlam. So you're going to want to check that out. Plus also all the other great stuff we got coming up, video reviews, all sorts of great content on all of our socials, as well as if you are watching us on Twitch or X, thank you so much, because all the live shows go across Twitch and X as well. But you're going to want to make sure you get over to Fanlight Zone's YouTube channel. If you're already there, you have half the battle won. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications so you know whenever we go live or whenever a new video is posted. And last but certainly not least, hit that thumbs up so you can help us wrestle that dirty algorithm to a proper finish. And now we're back on Miss Sammy Sans mask. Now that we got you all sweaty from putting the mask on, are you ready to talk some pro wrestling?
Listen, before we jump into that, to all my Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, Spider, everyone cosplay friends, I don't know how the hell you wear that mask the whole day. And I wear cosplays with helmets and stuff, but that...
Yeah, but the helmet, at least it gives a little more room, if you think, it's not quite over it's over your face and head, but it's not like tight to your face.
My Bo-Katan helmet, it's definitely got a lot of room in it, which is nice.
I would also like to point out about that mask. Imagine being a luchador in wrestling in that mask, because some luchadors like Rey Mysterio have the mouth open, but a lot of luchadors still have the full mask on, and it's the same tight mask. Could you imagine doing an athletic competition with that mask on?
No, I cannot. I don't know how any of them did it. And I actually came up a lazy version of Spider-Gwen just before we get into wrestling. Just so
there you go. Can be the lazy version for the show. It's a lot better. But if you did miss it in the beginning of the show, go back after the show is over and watch the open. You were in the full. We did get you in the full cosplay. So there you go.
All right.
With that being said, though, it is time to talk some pro wrestling, because that's on the marquee. And of course, I always like to invite it to chat. Chat, if you want to be lively, hit us up. We always want to hear your thoughts as well. We are going to kick the show off, of course, talking about, what else will we talk about? SummerSlam 2026 is in the books. Went down this past weekend from Minneapolis, Minnesota at the U.S. Bank Stadium. That's where the Vikings play football, Miss Sammy. Just so you know, that's where the Minnesota football Vikings play football. So, with that being said, we had two nights in the stadium, and I'm gonna go over here. Like I said, it's always fun to like read these. I got them to the side, but I'm gonna go over here, and we don't usually do attendance, but I do want to. I bringing this up for a different reason. It's not to rub it in. It's not to whatever. Night one's attendance was reported at 36,683. Night two's attendance was reported at 33,086 for a total combined of 69,769. Okay, so why I'm bringing this up, Miss Sammy, because like I said, we don't do the whole judging on attendances, but I'm bringing this up is remember the SummerSlam being announced for here was a make good because originally the great state of Minnesota wanted WrestleMania. And originally, this is back at WrestleMania, I do believe 41, the first year we were in Vegas, right?
Right, correct.
And Vegas swooped in and took it out. And then, of course, we know what happened last year with New Orleans, but that's a whole other story. So I'm thinking to myself, the make good was, okay, they announced the first 2-day SummerSlam, even though the first 2-day SummerSlam took place last year in New York at MetLife Stadium, or sorry, New Jersey, technically, but New York, New Jersey. But they announced it, and that was the make do, right? I'm not telling lies, right? I'm not making any of this up. We didn't imagine this. So my question to you, Miss Sammy, is that the last WrestleMania I went to was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Little chilly night one, whatever. Both attendance nights were over 60,000. And trust me, I was there. The seats were full. Here's the thing. If both combined nights are 69,000, what would have this meant for WrestleMania? Like are you telling me that SummerSlam is that far off that you can only book half the building and that's why? Or did WWE somehow dodge a bullet with WrestleMania not going to Minnesota? And did this ruin Minnesota's chances of getting a WrestleMania because they didn't show up and show out for SummerSlam? Your thoughts?
So that's a very fair perspective, but I feel like that's the perspective that someone sitting on the WWE board of directors would talk about. And I thought it was very interesting that no attendance was announced during the show. Yeah, like every stadium show, we have to talk about the attendance. You got to roll out some sort of a legend or a Triple H or someone out there. And they didn't do it. And I think that's really just a huge reflection on the cost of the product and people's just mindset and beliefs and thoughts and everything about the current product. It's not as strong as it was 2 years ago. It's not as strong as it even was a year ago. And for the record, I thought this was a pretty strong SummerSlam. I thought actually it was a pretty good make-to for a pretty lackluster WrestleMania. However, when you have high costs for tickets and just the overall experience, the cost is incredibly high. And you have a very kind of neutral to negative economy for a great many of us that, exists within it. I think it's more a reflection on the WWE product at this point than the atmosphere and venue of it all. I think, a large football stadium in anywhere in the country, right time of year, of course, like you don't want to do, some sort of a show in the Meadowlands. I'm sorry, it's not the Meadowlands anymore, but like you don't want to do that in December, January. But in the right time of year, the right venue, people will come. It's WWE. People will come. And I think
understand.
It's a reflection on the cost.
But to kind of push back a little bit, you said that my reaction would be something a board member would say, but that's who has to make the ultimate decision. Somebody sitting around the table going, hey, optically, and also bottom line, like, can we really trust bringing the big product here if you're not going to show up and show out? And granted, yes, there's other factors. Yes, the economy is trash. Yes, obviously ticket prices were expensive, but to that point, they got desperate last minute and they started giving away $25 tickets. That was advertised on SmackDown. If you watched SmackDown last week, there was a Justin Jefferson special for $25 tickets to SummerSlam. And I saw that and I instantly messaged Ken Ebb and went, oh man, they're getting desperate. Mind you, this is the same. The internet never crucified him for that. And like I said, we don't usually talk about tickets, but I'm only being fair and calling it down the middle. Remember when the internet used to crucify AEW because they couldn't fill a building? Remember when they used to crucify AEW because they were giving out buy one, get one tickets? WWE is doing the same thing currently because they've charged too much. They gave away $25 tickets to SummerSlam, which is fine. And God bless all the people who got $25 tickets, right? I talked about a few weeks ago, SmackDown was in Albany, New York, 2 hours up the road for me. I got a message because I've gone to both WWE and AEW shows at the MVP Arena in Albany. And so I got an email that said, hey, we got buy one, get one tickets for SmackDown. And I went, oh, that's unusual. That doesn't normally happen. So I don't know, and I agree with you. Part of it is the WWE and the people in the offices need to read the room and go, hey, maybe we need to make the ticket prices slightly cheaper, and maybe people will show up and show out.
Well, and it's also just the cost of WWE's product overall, not just the tickets to the event. We know there's a very expensive paywall that you have to use to watch their service, and the cost of everything else. So say you want to go to a WWE show, so you can get a $25 ticket. It's not really a $25 cost to you, though. The ticket to get in is $25. Then you're going to want food. You got to pay for parking and everything. It's going to inflate your cost. And when you're already spending that $30 plus a month for ESPN, and you're paying for Netflix and whatever else to try and watch as much as you can, you might go, you know what? I think I'd rather just pay those monthly subscription fee and get 6 buddies over here and watch it versus trying to get down there knowing that it's going to end up costing me $100+.
I get that, but that's on the venue.
That's tough. Yeah, well, that's partially on the venue, agreed, but every venue is going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
For the
I agree.
part, right?
I'm not saying they're any different than any other venue. I'm just saying part of that's on the venue.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it might have been too little too late with the $25 tickets, to be honest with you. You might need to do that a month in advance. I'd be interested to see how many tickets actually ended up getting sold at that cost. You know, and
do you think they're going to give that number out?
I tend to doubt it, but we both own some TKO stock. We'll have to see if it shows up in a shareholder report. No,
Probably not.
But this is an optic thing. And if AEW has a big show this year, and obviously they're not going to do, better than that over the course of one show. But if they can get 60, if they can get to that number or better for the one night, they're going to be talking about that number. They're going to be talking about that.
I mean,
number. I don't know if they can, but
I think they will in this case, because we're talking. I mean, not in the States. We're not talking. We're talking about All In, and I think they're going to get there. As far as the 60, I think they'll do over 70, easy. Okay. We got to remember, different economy too. Economy is not hurting as much in England as it is here in the States. And listen, I'm not going to jump into that minefield of politics that gets us to why we're screwed, but it is what it is.
Well, and just travel within Europe is just significantly easier. It's more readily accessible versus like, hey, if we saw those tickets for a $25 ticket, I'm in Connecticut, you're in New York, it's like, okay, but logistically to get there, it's still going to cost us versus, if AEW is running cheap tickets for that, and it's like, oh, I'm in France, I can just take the train and this and that and get over there for 50 quid. Like, okay,
And that's a good point, because I would also like to point out, and mind you, if somebody from Minnesota would like to, Minneapolis specifically, would like to tell me about the public transportation there, because I don't know. I know, and I'm not from me being in London, but I just know you can get the train right to, you can take the underground right to Wembley Stadium. You don't have to worry about parking. And as you pointed out, those tickets are usually kind of cheap. So I don't know about traveling. I would assume that most people came by car and had to park in the parking lot. I would assume that's what happened in Philadelphia. Mind you, Philadelphia does have public transportation. But when I was there for WrestleMania 40, it was a lot of people parking in the parking lots. The lots were full. So I think that's a thing. I think that's a big
thing. And it's an interesting balance, because now WWE again has serious enough competition in AEW where you have to be careful about what cities you go to, because we saw this with AEW. They went to the well too many times going to Chicago, and it kind of burned out that territory, and that rippled into WWE as well, not as much, because again, it is a different product, but at the end of the day, you have to differentiate yourself. We saw that WrestleMania going back to back with Vegas. It didn't really work out so well. And again, there are a ton of factors that play into that. But at the end of the day, you have to go to these different places, and you're going to have to run bigger shows in places that may not be the biggest powerhouse whatsoever for wrestling. But that comes with the business. You have to make if you are the best, if you are the best in the world, people are going to show up for you, right? And if they're not, there's a reason why beyond just the venue.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say the only reason the business isn't dead in Chicago for WWE is because they have Charles Montgomery Punk on the card, and they show up and show out for CM Punk. Doesn't matter how many times you show up to Chicago. Right. Same thing happened when AEW was going to Chicago. As long as they had Punk, the people showed up. People show up in Chicago for Punk, which is fine. It's not a downside. It's just it is what it is.
It's a great thing.
That's a great thing. It's a great thing. So let's talk about the wrestling. Like I said, I want to get the business out of the way because there was some optics. I do know that people complain about the crowd, but people always complain about the crowd. And I will say this, from being in stadiums, from being to WrestleManias, I pointed out I was at WrestleMania 40. A lot of people talk shit about the WrestleMania 40 for night one crowd. I've gone on record a million times saying it was cold. It was cold that night. The wind chill was below 30 degrees, and it was blowing. The wind was blowing at a steady pace where you were looking. So it was you weren't escaping it. So that was first part of the problem. But the second part is it still was loud, because even the people who were there said it was loud. It's just that in stadiums, especially ones without roofs, the sound goes up. The sound goes up, and you don't actually hear it until it's a weird sound. You have to get used to it. You hear performers talk about it all the time, where they don't hear the reaction, and then they hear it late. So the reaction happens, but then they don't hear it until after it. So it's kind of like this weird, it's an acoustic thing. So I don't want to crucify them there. I don't know if it was the case that they were lame. I don't know if it was the case, but I would never call an audience that anyways, because we don't know. I wasn't there. No, I'm sure that they were on their feet for some things.
Yeah, and WWE does a great job of really mixing their audio where you don't even necessarily get the proper crowd noise anymore. There are plenty of times where we hear the reaction on TV, and then people that we know are like, that was not the reaction in the arena, but WWE does a good job of sound mixing it. So,
well, I'll say they did not do a good job of sound mixing in this one, because you got to be honest. I'm calling down the middle.
This is true.
Like they left Minnesota out there to die on the vine. Because there was times where I was like, are they reacting or not? And the only thing that gave away that they were reacting is I saw like the actual reactions. Like you could see people's mouths moving. You could see people's heads turning. You could see them getting up and down. Outside of that, like I said, though, I think that it was because they didn't, as to your point, I don't think they mic'd and mixed it properly, and they left them out there hanging. All right, let's talk wrestling, though. We got two nights. Let's start night one. The opening contest was a match for the Women's World Championship. Your champion, she's trouble, Liv Morgan, taking on the Empress of the Sky, Io Sky. And also, I should point out, the 2026 Queen of the Ring, Io Sky. This match got 13 minutes and 35 seconds. At the end of the day, your winner, and still the WWE Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan. I like this match. And I'm going to say, Sammy, before I turn it off, I liked it a lot. I thought both of them went out there. I think their Queen of the Ring match was slightly better, but their Queen of the Ring match was fantastic. So there, it does whatever. However, I will say this: the finish of this match was chef's kiss. Mwah! We got the right amount of back and forth reversal kind of business into oblivion. Out of I not really out of nowhere, but you could say out of nowhere if you want.
Close enough.
I thought this was a great finish, one of the best finishes we've seen in a while. Miss Sammy, what did you think of the Women's World Championship match and still your champion, Liv Morgan?
Sequels are tough sometimes when you run them back that quickly, and this is a fairly quick run back, with the Queen of the Ring tournament. However, for a champion that hasn't really defended the belt that much, and for it being a sequel, this was an amazing way to start the show. This was a really, we had a world championship title match to start the show, and the match delivered. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that, right?
What was the stat? One title defense in 100 days? Was that the stat? I think that was the stat.
She's
because we like to jump ahead when we're breaking down a card like this, because this is the most of what we're doing today. There's some other things to do. We're going to mix in Raw, because we got to Monday Night Raw, and I don't think any of us had this on our bingo card. Liv Morgan comes to the ring. She starts, talking her stuff. I'm not even going to talk about the confusion that I was about why Raquel Rodriguez had the barbed wire around the Intercontinental title. I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Where's Ken M when I need him? If I wish he was in the here, reasons, right? That's the ODPH answer, reasons. because that I'm like I said, I'm not even touching with a 10-foot pole because I have no time for that. That's just gonna waste time. But anyways, Liv comes out telling us she's the greatest world heavyweight champion ever. You know, we're all thinking, hey, who's going to be that next challenger? And I guarantee nobody out of their bingo cards, it was the man, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch comes to the ring and does what the man does best. When the man comes around, she cuts a promo. And oh man, there was 2 great promos on Raw. We're going to talk about the other one obviously later. That promo though, talking about, hey, you call yourself the greatest and you don't even defend the title. Well, guess what, sweetheart? You're going to defend the title. You're going to defend it against me, because that's how the man's not interested in the Intercontinental title anymore. No. The man wants that one. And then giving her credit, doing the best chicken shit heel that she can, Liv Morgan leaves and she gets cornered by the return of La Primera. Stephanie Vakir is back. And now it looks like we're going to have a tug war between Vakir and Becky Lynch to get a title shot at Liv Morgan. So finally, it took all the way till after SummerSlam with only 1 title defense. And finally, we're getting some action on the Raw Women's. How excited are you that we're finally getting some movement on the Raw side of things?
Very, finally. For a show that's been pretty stale since WrestleMania, we might finally have some movement here. We might finally have a freaking bowel movement here.
I love it. Let's move right along, though. Next up, second match on the card was a 6-man tag team extravaganza. And of course, this match we get 11 minutes flat as the team of LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys would defeat the Bloodline, Jacob Fatu, Jimmy, and Jay Uso. Of course, the pinfall would come from LA Knight, who hit blunt force trauma. Good stuff. We were both out of fans. However, gotta give credit where it's due. Solo Sikoa has become one of the most entertaining wrestlers on all. I love he ran back Jay's music during the match, and then instead of doing the yeets, he was doing the suck-its. Oh man, Miss Sammy, maybe not a great match. I didn't think it was bad, but maybe not a great match. But how sports entertained were you by the 6-man tag team extravaganza?
I was heavily sports entertained in here, and the BFT at the end was really a good. But not only was it a good one, it was sold really well. It totally went over the top with a great style on it. But I mean, the talk of the town is Solo, the coming out party here as a face. Like it just, and it's not even so much coming out as a face, just really just embracing himself and really just kind of coming into his own, letting his goofiness shine through. I mean, the rolling it back, the yeet was great, but a couple weeks ago he did the Oba thing, and that was really funny too. So like, this is, I mean, Solo's a guy that kind of got lost in the sauce for a while. I know he was featured heavily on SmackDown for many months. He had his own faction for a little while and everything, but it just didn't really ever work. And this is the guy that got some pretty big wins and had a pretty big spotlight on for a long time. It's starting to shine, which is awesome because he's someone that has worked with all these guys. He can work. He can handle the mic now. He's got some personality. You can start putting him in that mid-card, upper mid-card, main event scene. It's a little fresh, and he can handle himself. Perfect.
The best part about this is, I'm going to say this, we're getting house show Solo. For anybody who has ever seen like some of the house show footage where he has a lot of fun, we are now getting house show Solo as a main character, which is great. I think it's sky's the limit. More. And of course, we're going to talk more about LA Knight later. Okay. Yeah. So just throwing that out there. Next up, third match of the evening, we had the return to the ring of the national treasure, Nick Aldis, as this match got 11 minutes and 40 seconds, and Gunther would defeat Nick Aldis in Nick Aldis's WWE in-ring debut. First and foremost, Nick Aldis came to the ring to Oasis Morning Glory, which was dope.
Yes.
Dope. Yes. And then, wow, if anybody doubted if the national treasure could still go in the ring, we definitely got the national treasure. I was a big fan. Sammy, how did you feel about Gunther and Nick Aldis?
This was the match of the weekend. It really was. There were some other moments overall that were really, really good, and we'll get to those later. But overall, from start to finish, just literally from entrance to walking back up the ramp, because there was stuff that took place afterwards as well, which was a beautiful moment. From there to there, this is WWE at its best. This was very similar to El Grande Americano versus, the original El Grande Americano. Now, obviously not with that build-up and story, but just the way it was presented, the way the story worked. This was like a lighter version of that, and it worked very well. And this is WWE at its best, absolute best.
I agree with that. I agree with 110%. I loved Nick Aldis going out there. It was a great match. I love the the interaction with his wife Mickie James, their son coming in, actually getting to see his dad wrestle in WWE, and the crowd popped. If you talk about loud moments, the crowd, especially after the match, Gunther doing the right thing and giving him the ring. Thought that was cool. Still made him look like he was a heel, which I liked, but giving him the ring so he could soak in the adulation. I thought that was a great reading the room. If you ask me to describe Gunther, I always say consummate professional. Like he's a wrestler's wrestler. And so I wasn't surprised that he was more than willing and more than gracious to do that. I understand his character's a heel, but I thought I liked how he got out of there. He celebrated the victory by laughing, but got out of there knowing that he could give Nick Aldis a push there. And then you have that moment. Then you have the moment out back later on where Nick Aldis is going to hands in his resignation because that was part of the deal. And Triple H says, not so quick. You know what? You went out there and you did what you believe in. But hey, how about you start calling it right down the middle? And you have your job back, because that's what he was. So I was kind of surprised. I don't know. Maybe Nick Aldis just wanted to do one. Maybe he'll do one again some other time. Maybe he doesn't want to be a full-time wrestler. I was kind of surprised because the match went well. But once again, I said at the end of the day, I thought that there would be, an inkling of which way he wanted to go. I thought they would leave it open-ended, and I think they did. I think by having that moment out back, it was kind of giving him the open-ended, where if he would have decided, I think if he wanted to be a full-time roster member, I think they would have probably let him do it. Quite frankly. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want the National Treasure out there. He looked great.
You could use some fresh blood in that main event scene, and you just put him in a high-profile match with a high-profile guy and went out there and balled out. Like, okay, you could insert him right now into your main event scene, and it's credible. So you could go that route. He had a great interview with Chris Family. I encourage everyone to listen to it. He talked a lot about his journey and his career within WWE and his character development within WWE and everything. It leaves me wondering and questioning if this is the end. I really think he wants to be in the ring, and I think he'll find his way there. Maybe as a next year thing. Maybe as a Royal Rumble entrant or something like that. Who knows?
Maybe. No. All right, next up was the 6-woman tag team extravaganza. And of course, this match would feature the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Fatal Influence, Phelan Henley and Laney Reed, and of course their partner, the head of Fatal Influence, Jacy Jayne, and of course they would be taking on the former WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Brie, Bella, and Paige, with the returning Nikki Bella also to round it out. This match, at the end of the day, 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and your winners, Fatal Influence. Jacy Jayne gets a big pin here, as we were wondering where we were going to push her forward. Here we go. I love it. I thought that was good. The match was decent. The ending was good. But then we got to the real piece of business, as Nikki Bella and Brie Bella would turn on Paige at the end. I don't think that anybody did not see this coming. But with that being said, it's still not bad. Your thoughts on the women's 6-woman tag team extravaganza?
Yeah, this match was fine. It did everything it needed to do. It looks like we got a pretty serious injury out of it with Brie. So that whole story of her and her sister feuding with Paige or whatever is probably just closed at this point, in my opinion. Get these people doing other things. Get them doing other things. Get Paige working with other people. She's great on the mic, and she's shown she can go enough in the ring. She can't do everything she did 10 years ago, but really, does she really need to right now? No, if she can just eviscerate people on the mic and then put together a serviceable match, that's more than enough to be a top star in WWE right now.
I agree with that. 110%. Next up, the undisputed WWE Championship was on the line. It's your champion, the best in the world, the Second City Saint, CM Punk, taking on the former champion, the American Nightmare QB1, Cody Rhodes. This match got 30 minutes and 10 seconds. And at the end of the day, your winner and still the undisputed WWE champion, CM Punk. Okay, let me start off by saying this. I thought this match was very good. I thought that the build to this had done very well. I still stand by, if you were going to make one of them the main event, I still think this should have been the night 2 main event, because I think out of the 2 world title fights, this one had more story and more bite to it. Great. But of course, as it was alluded to by one CM Punk in a promo, sometimes I'm not contracted to have the main event spot like other people. There you go. That by the way, he was on one. We're going to talk about that in a second more. So anyways, you had CM Punk go over here. I thought the match, like I said, very good, although little tainted. As we get to that finish line, we don't know what's going to happen, but we get the return of the Viper, Randy Orton, and he gets himself a little bit of revenge by giving the RKO to one Cody Rhodes. By the way, the crowd popped out of their minds for Cody getting RKO'd. They booed Cody. Like, Cody is becoming a heel whether he wants to or not at this point, I think.
It's AEW all over again.
I'm not going to go that far yet, because once again, yes, he was in there with CM Punk. Yes, the returning of Randy Orton's always going to get a pop, right? Yeah. But WWE has to know this. WWE, the powers that be, the people in the back, starting with the top in the creative chief there, Triple H, Paul Levesque, has to know that if you put Cody Rhodes out there against CM Punk, chances are Cody's going to get booed, especially if he's starting to wane. CM Punk's not going to get booed. Turning Punk heel was not even an option. I don't know. Once again, we've speculated this in a while. Although I will say Punk doesn't see the interference, so he still gets to claim to be the good guy, which is always a good thing, because you don't want to get that to the point. Gets to go to sleep because he doesn't see any of it. 1, 2, 3, and that's it. You know, he retains the WWE Undisputed Championship. We're going to talk more about him retaining, because obviously the next day there's something that happens that makes a lot more sense for him to retain. And I'm going to go into that into great depth for a couple reasons. However, on this day, what did you think of the Undisputed WWE Championship match?
I thought it was a solid match, but I felt like it was missing something. And I think that the something was really just the Cody heel turn, which we really, I think the audience really wants at this point, especially after a couple of, and again, Cody's not like a bad champion, but he hasn't had like a great standout feud, a great standout story as champion. I guess John Cena was really supposed to be the big one, and it really wasn't. It just didn't play out very well. Then they had the weird flip-flop with Drew McIntyre, and then the Randy fumble and stuff. Like, it never really worked out with him as champion from a story standpoint. And I think now the story's got to go heel. Bring in Randy back. Great spot. It brings them back, and now maybe the two of them can do a proper story together. But without the belt, it kind of loses a bit of steam there, a little bit. I think it had more stakes with the belt, but yeah, it's tough. Overall, this is a great main event and was certainly worthy of being the show weekend closer.
I will say this. I agree with something. I don't agree with the belt standpoint, because I think Cody's a big enough star and Randy's a big enough star that the belt is just a prop at that point in juncture. That it goes back to that WrestleMania argument. You didn't need to add anything else to that. The story of the student and the teacher, the story of Randy being willing to do anything to get back to that position and to get to that next step to get closer to Ric Flair's record and John Cena's now, Ric Flair being in second in John Cena's record, because he's close. We all know that.
Yeah.
So like that was all on the line there. And that was good enough. And then they watered it down, diluted it. So to your point, I think we can get a better story between them, because now, obviously SmackDown will happen tomorrow as we're live. And if you're watching this recorded, it happens tomorrow. Which I'm very interested to see SmackDown. We'll talk about that when we talk about the title picture in a second. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Sammy. I don't know, Miss Sammy. I think that they could be. I think that they could, if done right, and they just let the two of them go out there and work magic. You could have a really good program with or without belt. But they have to let them two. This is one of those cases where you don't have to do much booking. You just let the two of them go out there and do what they do.
Yeah, and I think you kind of need to drag it out. You need one of them to like screw the other one over in the Royal Rumble and then have them come in and screw them. That way they don't have to be involved in the WrestleMania main event scene. Like you need to drag this out to finish at Mania, in my opinion. This needs to be a story.
Oh, you can. Well,
and you can, yes. And then you could do some sort of a big Mania blow off and then move on from there, you know?
So I book it like this. If I'm booking, you give me the pencil. I book September Orton versus Orton versus Cody at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Orton goes over, get his win back.
Yeah.
Then Orton goes on in October, looks like he's going to win Money in the Bank, and Cody screws him out of Money in the Bank. Maybe you have Orton screw Punk out of I keep saying Punk, Cody out of being in Money in the Bank, but then you have Cody screw Orton out of getting the Money in the Bank shot.
Yeah.
In retribution for this, ready for this? Because we're going to get the heel eventually. You have, and this time you have to sell it. You have Orton punt the hell out of Cody and keep Cody off of TV till the Rumble. Have him come back, not as a surprise entry. Have him come back, announce he's coming back and enter the Rumble.
Yeah, I'm coming back. I'll be in the Rumble, blah, blah, blah.
Then in the Rumble, it's easy. You have the two of them, once they get in the ring together, try to tear each other apart and eliminate the over the top. They both go over the top rope. They both end each other's possibility of getting a shot at Mania is because they're ripping each other to shreds. And then we're off to the races for Mania. Because then once again, you could put them in Hell in a Cell, or sorry, not Hell in a Cell. You could put them in the Elimination Chamber where they screw each other over again. And then you're on the road to WrestleMania. And that's how you would get there naturally without making it too much. And it would still be the rubber match in this series because you have the Mania match, you have the match in September, which 1-1, and then you have the rubber match at which feels more, and once again, to the point that you don't need the belt, that rubber match feels like a championship match to begin with. So I could book this easily. Granted, and I just did. Let's see if they can do that.
Let's see if they can do it.
I hold my breath. By the way, I mentioned a minute ago, CM Punk was on one in the post show. Oh man, we were enjoying the post show down in the basement. Myself, the dog, and Ken M. We're enjoying it down there. Oh man, I mentioned already. He made how did you feel about not being the main event? Well, I don't care. It's my job to go out there and put on the best match I can. I'm not contracted to be in the main event like others. And then he had his moment. He had the moment that kind of not quite the same, I'm tired, I'm injured, and I work with a bunch of beep children. Instead, he said when they talked to him about Obafemi, he said, "Bring him on. You can either go and fight the paper champ on SmackDown, or you can come take your shot at the best in the world. Trust me, I'll give you all you can handle because I'm not scared. I'm ready to fight, and I'm not no beep." Punk was on one. I love when Punk's on one, and it was beautiful. And he's catching fire right in time because I think he's going to have a huge program. We're going to talk about that in a second. I keep teasing it. We're going to talk about it in a second because we have one more match to talk about at night one before we can get to that night two. And night one, we had the final match, Hell in a Cell. The Ruler, Obafemi taking on the Beast, Brock Lesnar. By the way, this match, simply put, back in the day, one Gorilla Monsoon would say it's the irresistible force against the immovable object. And oh boy, would this be one of them. This match at the end of the day got 11 minutes and 40 seconds. By the way, it felt not in a bad way, but it didn't feel like 11 minutes and 40 seconds. They did a lot for 11 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the winner of the Hell in a Cell match, the Ruler, Obafemi. We'll play this out. Just talk about the match. I thought the match was a great train wreck. And I mean that in a good way. You had two big, as Big E says, you had two big meaty men slapping meat. And they did exactly that. They went out there and they just bam and just kept colliding. It's like two rams just keep going, just keep going. I mean, they pulled up the ring mat. I do think the one key that got missed was in the finish. I think Obafemi was supposed to hit the power bomb on the boards. Because if you look at Brock Lesnar, when he hit the mat before the three, he looks over to the boards and then just chuckles in classic Brock Lesnar form. Because I think he was supposed to hit the boards, quite frankly. However, it is what it is. Still gets the win. What did you think about the match?
I think for a match that didn't really need to be a Hell in a Cell, I think it worked out well enough. I think it was a really great match. Now it's been announced. Brock has said that was his last match. He's retiring. He said that on Pat McAfee. Based
Right.
upon the way he talked about Oba afterwards and everything, I think this is an actual retirement for Brock. I think it is, unless Saudi money comes a calling and says, hey, we're going to pay you $100 million to come back and do whatever. I mean, that's always a possibility. But, I think it was what it was at the end of the day. And Oba is ready.
Passing the torch.
Ready. Yeah, pass
the torch.
Oba's ready. Yeah.
He said it even in the after. You're a good point because I was going to bring that up. Yes, I Pat McAfee the following day, Monday, he announced his retirement. He did not do it in the ring, which I think was more telling that it's real because you can do performative art if you want. But I got that sense because, like he said, I'm the old. This is the new.
Yeah. You
have the new. Cheer him on. Congratulations, brother. I know the company's in good hands. Wrestling's in good hands. Thank you so much. My hats. And I love Oba. By the way, Oba, the respect that Oba showed, Oba was trying to give Brock the ring the whole time, and Brock wasn't having it to the point that Brock wanted to leave and give Oba the ring. And Oba was confused, but I think that was what Brock wanted. Brock wanted to say, hey, listen, I want you to take this. I don't want that earlier in the night, like I said about Gunther leaving Nick Aldis to get his adoration. I think here Brock was smart enough to go, hey, I don't even care about the adoration. I want the new guy to be put on that pedestal now. I need to go away. And so it was kind of like the opposite thing. It was the old gunslinger. He just took his guns off and handed them to the new guy and walked out, handed him the sheriff's badge, and I'm going home. And I thought it was perfect. I really did. I thought it was a great moment. It definitely solidified Oba. I'm interested to see if this leads to where it should, because Oba Femi is the number one contender for the championship of his choice, as they pointed out. World championship of his choice, as he's the 2026 King of the Ring. I would assume he would go after Roman Reigns. That's the big money match, I would say, especially after what we're about to talk about. So let's not put it off anymore. Going over to night two, and night two started very emotionally and very happy for yours truly because of personal relationships. So originally, we had a number one contenders match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Winner is going to be the number one contender. That match was booked between Sami Zayn and Finn Balor. Start of the show, Nick Aldis comes out, reinstated as your general manager, states, hey, now that I'm back, it's time for me to make things exciting. I think this match needs something else, and it needs another competitor. Crowd's waiting on bated breath. That competitor is Gunther. Once again, shakes the hand of Gunther, proving that, like Triple H said, you got to let bygones be bygones. Gunther is more than worthy of being a number one contender. We can all agree on that. However, after Gunther gets to the ring and we think we're now going to have an impromptu triple threat, Nick Aldis, who's still on the stage, so the people in the building can see that, but us at home, they didn't show him until, says, wait a minute, I didn't say that it just needed one more participant. I think it needs two more. So we're going to have ourselves a fatal four-way, and this is who I added. And we get the pause, and then we get what we've been waiting to hear for a while, and that is the music of one Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has returned to the ring. We know from his post-show interview that where him and Big E had a very wonderful moment, that up until a month ago, he still didn't know if he was going to return to the ring. Like, this was still, his career could have been over, and he just didn't want to accept that. And they pushed forward, and thankfully he was back. Because I got to work in the wrestling business with Kevin Owens when he was Kevin Steen, it was kind of emotional for me. I didn't cry, I promise. I did get emotional though, because I thought that I was very, very happy in the moment. I loved the camera work showing Sami Zayn, as Sami Zayn kind of was like, you could tell there was some real life mixed with some of him acting, because he's great at what he does, like the shock look. But I also think you could sense that tinge of a smile, like, oh man, I'm glad that, and obviously he knew, but I'm glad that my best friend is back for personal reasons. Great moment. The crowd, I love the, sometimes when the moments in wrestling are real, there was people crying in the crowd. They caught, fans crying, which it's an emotional moment. You're talking about somebody who, for all intents and purposes, it's not work. We thought his career was over. By his own admission, up until a month ago, his career was over. For all intents and purposes, over.
Yeah. And
to see him back in the ring was phenomenal. So for me personally, I just want to say welcome back to Kevin Owens. He's always been awesome to me. He's always been a great, I would say friend. And it was super awesome to see him get back in the ring and do what he does. And man, he didn't hold anything back. He was diving. He was doing swantons. He did a flip from the top rope to the floor. Listen, he was out there wrestling like a man. And as he said in the post show, he said, if I'm coming back, I'm not playing it safe. My career was almost over. We're all of us could be on borrowed time. It could end tomorrow. I might as well go out and give it 110%. So that leads us to the end of the day. And before I dive into like the internet controversy, the end of the day is after 8 minutes and 30 seconds, Kevin Owens is the winner of the Fatal 4-Way and is your new number one contender for the undisputed WWE Championship. Miss Sammy, how did you feel about just the match? How did you feel about seeing Kevin Owens return? How did you feel about it becoming a 4-way match? How did you feel about Kevin Owens being your new number one contender?
I'm actually a little disappointed.
Whoa!
And here's the thing. I do like Kevin Owens. I'm glad he got a beautiful moment. The match played out very well. But I was just actually very excited for a Sami Zayn Finn Balor just ball out match. I think the two of them could have put something really kind of fun together. And then it is a little lame. It's like, oh, yeah, Gunther's now in this match for number one contender. And it's like, these guys had to do stuff to get this. And Gunther just beats the GM and he gets in there. And then Kevin Owens, he's been on the shelf. What, a number one contender just falls in his lap? Did your championship matches and everything just fall in people's lap? I guess it just does in WWE. However, it was a great moment. It was a really good match. We were so close with Finn Balor. We were so close in rehabbing that character. So close.
But here's the thing. So I don't think it hurt the character. I don't think it hurt him at all. He didn't eat the pin. He's still going to be featured heavily. Here's the thing. I like the addition of Gunther because it threw everybody off. Because as soon as he said he was going to announce somebody, the crowd instantly was thinking, oh man, the rumors of Kevin Owens coming back are true. It's going to be Kevin Owens. So to throw out Gunther was a good swerve for a second. To then make it a 4-way to do to do what they wanted to do. So there's that. Here's my thing. I'm going to go from purely business. I'm going to put my friendship, my acquaintanceship, whatever you want to the side, my personal feelings. I'm going to go put my Booker's hat back on from business. We are not guaranteed, and we talked about this with Kenny Omega recently, so you can tell this is right down the middle for me. We are not guaranteed a long run. We know that the back nine, we're on the back nine for Kevin Owens, probably closer to the end, especially with the neck injury. Another severe injury probably is going to be that. That's going to be it. Let's be honest. Like that's just, we have to face facts. Like I said, taking the personal feelings out of this. It's just facts. So here's the problem. We have borrowed time. What can we do to draw money? What are the biggest money draws that we have to get? Quite frankly, as a wrestling fan, and I'm sorry if people don't agree, that might mean you just don't know the history. If I have borrowed time, I need Kevin Owens versus CM Punk. I need that feud. I need it in my veins. I need it in my soul. Like I said, take personal out of it. Just as a fan and as a businessman, it's a reason to print money. And B, it's going to light wrestling on fire. I hope it's not a short feud. Willing and injuries and whatever. This right here, you're talking about two guys that when I said I want to watch SmackDown tomorrow, it's because I want to see that first promo between Owens and Punk. When they're face to face in the ring, I want to see when Kevin Owens, when he looks Punk in the face and Punk tries to be nice and Kevin Owens says, I remember when you told me to take my shirt off and then you made fun of me for being fat. Do you remember that, Punk? Do you remember that all those years ago? Do you remember bullying me in the locker room? Do you remember bullying me and bullying other guys in the locker room? Do you remember all of that? Because I do. And listen, I'm wrestling on borrowed time. My career should have ended. So here's the thing. Knowing that I need to come out here, not only do I want that championship one more time, not only do I want to be the guy one more time, But if I get to beat your ass and take it from you, that's even better. And Punk's going to have a rebuttal, and they're going to do great business. So here's the thing. Normally, I would be kind of with you in the internet, and I would say, you know what? They kind of screw some things over. But let's be honest. Finn Balor can get a shot in 6 months. I would be barring something horrific, and we don't want to see that happen. Finn Balor is not going anywhere anytime soon.
I mean,
Sami Zayn also not going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm not saying this is a whatever. We aren't guaranteed tomorrow with Kevin Owens. We are only guaranteed today. Just like we talked about with Kenny Omega, and we needed Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. And now that we got a little bit of MJF in there, it's even better, right? But that's what I'm saying. That's what we need with Kevin Owens, because this program is a license to print money. I don't even think WWE can botch it.
See,
that's saying something.
The only hole I have in everything you said, because I do agree with everything, it's the borrow time end of the career thing. None of these guys that we're talking about are on the right side of 40. They're all on the Finn Balor, he's what,
correct,
44? He looks amazing. He looks like he's 28 or whatever. But at the end of the day, none of these guys on the right side of time. We're all on borrowed time with all of them. But I agree. I just don't love the way they do it. If you're trying to treat SummerSlam like it is the WrestleMania of the summer, then the nights after SummerSlam, the Raw and the SmackDown afterwards, need to be treated like the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania.
Well, they have been treating those great. They haven't been treating those great, by the way. The Raws after Mania, Raw and SmackDown after Mania have been kind of bad.
Exactly.
By the way, I would like to point out that the Raw after SummerSlam way better than the Raw after Mania. Like you had, we're not going to talk about the second thing quite yet, but we already talked about Liv and Becky, and then the return of Stephanie Vakir. So I mean, that was a huge moment, and then you have the other one we'll talk about in a minute. But
I guess I just remember some of these feuds back in the day where you had the two guys feuding for that number one contendership, and you would just have the champion kind of there. They would go out on commentary and stuff. And MJF was good for this kind of stuff too at times. And it was like you would just watch the guys out there beating the snot out of each other, and I'm like, you know, if you had gotten a Sami Zayn or a Finn Balor and they're going after, you know, when KO comes back on SmackDown, and then those guys are going at it for a couple of months, and Punk's just sitting there just watching it and getting to be involved in it, but not necessarily directly, that would have been a lot of fun too, because he could have just
But you're still going to get that.
But he could have talked smack about both of them for months.
But here's the thing. You're going to get that.
Then there's your WrestleMania matchup right there. You get the KO and Punk all the way to WrestleMania.
But here's the thing, you're going to get that. You're going to get that because those guys are going to – Sami Zayn's doing conspiracy Sami Zayn stuff again. So you know even he's going to be bitching that even though he's his friend, you stole my spot. Finn Balor has a gripe. Gunther has a gripe, right? Everybody has a gripe. So you know it's going to boil down. But like I said, you have to rush to the minute of what we need to get done. And I'm sorry that the ends justify the means in this case. Completely.
I just honestly feel a SmackDown return, treating it like you used to treat those nights, those first live shows after WrestleMania. If the SummerSlam is the WrestleMania of the summer, it would have worked just as well on Friday night. A big KO return, and then everyone would see it, because that's the other thing. It is behind a paywall to watch. So here's the pay-per-view.
Yes and no, because now they've opened it up more free. I mean, if you have YouTube TV, you get direct free. If you have Spectrum, you get it free. If you have, I want to say Comcast or one of those, you also. So they've opened it up more, giving them. I'm not saying that it's not completely, but it is what it is. But here's the thing: you also have to remember you have to make the event feel big, so people will pay. Like if it was free, like what used to be, then you can do all of what you're saying. If you put it on SmackDown. Like, here's the problem. So you put it on SmackDown, you have, let's say, Sami Zayn or Finn Balor become the number one contender. So now you have Kevin Owens back to mess that up. And then he takes the number one contendership from him, and you have the same boat. Yeah,
but Kevin Owens, not knowing he's going to be there, isn't going to drive people to buy those $25 tickets because you didn't know he was going to be there. It was just a rumor.
Well, I wasn't even talking about a house.
Yeah, but the only person
but
that
to your point,
to do that was CM Punk in Chicago when he came to AEW Rampage there. He was the only one off a rumor to sell that place out.
But you were talking about earlier, the reason people don't go is because they have to pay that $30 to watch the pay-per-view. So if you have to pay that $30, somebody who said, "Oh, I'm not going to separate for $30 to watch this." Maybe next time you go, "Oh, maybe I should separate with $30." It's the same reason that they run surprises on AEW pay-per-views, is because you want people to buy the $40 pay-per-view. And that's an old school thing. Yeah, you should run specials and sort. You ran more surprises on Raw after Mania when the network was $10 and everybody was watching it, right? That's why, because then you are trying to drive the house sale. We're not trying to just drive the money sale. Now you have to drive both sales, and so it is what it is. I can argue it both ways, but in this case, you're up against the wall.
Love it. Yeah, I didn't love it. I think it could have been done differently.
Don't have to love it. Don't have to love it, but it's still, I don't think it could have been done differently, because everything you did, everybody's mentioned, including you, is also saying, here, let them come back on SmackDown and still screw somebody over from their number one contendership. And then you're in the same boat. Like, you're tossing it up. It doesn't matter. And yeah, let's treat the guy that's coming back like he's secondary to, let's check notes, Sami Zayn and Finn Balor, who you've called Pin Balor for fucking 2 years now. And Sami Zayn, whose championship reign was so lackluster that the 9 days was more than enough. So the argument here,
I mean, if you
loses
want to be
steam.
fair on that, who did Kevin Owens beat before he went on the injured list?
But here's the thing: Kevin Owens was a prime main eventer the whole time. You could have put him in the main event at any time, and he sold main events. He sold main events with Roman Reigns at the top of Roman Reigns' tribal chief gimmick with little notice. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, Kevin Owens is a proven commodity in the main event. Think about it. They threw him in there with Cody out of nowhere, and it worked. That was Cody's best feud as champion, was when he was taking on Kevin Owens. And that was with, like, think about it, the build to that literally started over something that people caught on camera outside of a venue.
I'm not saying not saying that Owens isn't worthy of it. I just don't like the idea of him coming into an established match and just throwing two people into the mix. I think it could have been done differently and allowed a little bit more time to set it up properly and extend things out a little bit, get some pay-per-view matches set up here, and allow Punk to go out there and just talk smack about everyone, and then you get that proper matchup and feud going between the two of them.
Now, we'll agree to disagree. I like making money. It's the wrestling business. That's that. At the end of the day, I think that's what most people find is weird. This is all
their sponsorships and stuff. They don't make money off anything else anymore.
No, they need to make money off of selling tickets and stuff at the end of the day, because that is actually still the driver. Because if you can have all those sponsorships, but ain't nobody going to sponsor if ain't nobody watching. Ain't nobody going to sponsor if ain't nobody. The reason why the reason to put people on here, because we're going to talk about it in a second as we speed up here a little bit. Danhausen's on the card is because he sells a ton of merch. And he should be on the card. For anybody who thinks that he shouldn't be on the card, that's insane, because he sells a ton of merch. Money is the root of everything. And people will be like, well, no, trust me, it's the root of everything in AEW as well. Will Ospreay sells a ton of merch. So does a Kenny Omega. So does a Orange Cassidy. So does a Darby Allin. Guess who gets TV time? All four of those guys. Swerve Strickland sells a lot of merch, gets TV time. MJF sells a lot of merch, gets TV time. The guys who get TV time, granted, they do give a lot of younger guys time, which I love about the company. Andrade Idolo sells a lot of merch, gets a lot of time. You know what I mean? It's just a business as well. So if that's the issue, then you have to remember who's making the money, who's going to be able to draw, whether that's to buying the stream, whether that's to buying merchandise itself, or whether that's buying a ticket to the event. You have to keep that in mind. It is a business. And I think that we all put that out of there. And some people will say this, that. Same thing with football. Same thing with baseball. Same thing with basketball. That's why you have superstars. That's why they all have licensing deals. That's why they all have sneaker deals. That's why they all have merchandising deals. Think about it. Like, it's not too far out of the realm of possibilities of anything. You have to have that. Like I said, if you didn't like it, that's fine. I understand it. I understand that some people didn't like it. I understand it was a business thing. The next match, they did the same thing, though, even though it was already put up there, because Baron Corbin defeats Trick Williams for the WWE United States Championship in 9 minutes and 5 seconds. Baron Corbin's return match defeats one of your up-and-comers. See, now I have more of a problem with it. Why? Not because I don't like Baron Corbin, but what does that do to Trick Williams?
I actually
and the way he does it,
Corbin to win this, so I'm actually was okay with it.
What? See, that's the difference. See, now I don't understand you. And that's what I don't understand about most wrestling fans. Oh, man, it sucks that Kevin Owens won a match to be a number one contender as a proven commodity. But Baron Corbin can come back, who sold nothing, and beat one of the guys you're building into a top position. That's cool.
No, and to me, it actually makes sense because I see Trick winning the Money in the Bank, and him with the Money in the Bank and a mic. Perfect. He's ready for the main event. Baron Corbin's going to put a Javon Evans type over. He's going to have a couple of months with the belt, and he's going to end up putting somebody over. That's exactly what he was brought back for. Proven hand to put somebody over. Trick doesn't need this belt anymore. He's ready for the main event.
We'll see how that works out. I'll put money, I'll put dollars and donuts. It don't happen. He could be ready all day. I like Trick Williams quite a bit. Hence why I don't like the fact that he lost, because I don't think they're going to put the belt on him. I don't think they're going to make him win the Money in the Bank. He probably won't even be in the Money in the Bank match.
We'll see. We got time.
We will see. Once again, it's probably not going to happen. And then what's going to happen? Same thing. Baron Corbin's champion. Why? Was he going to go after Punk right now? Punk's already got a full dance card. So Trick Williams ain't going after Punk. So either you're going to continue the feud with Baron Corbin, which kind of is an odd feud to have, right? When you could have just as easily done, if you really want to do something, you could have easily just done Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams on the main roster. Because that was money. Why aren't we using Carmelo Hayes? Brought back Baron Corbin. We couldn't do that with Carmelo Hayes. Okay. Next up, 5-way ladder match. Interim WWE Women's Championship on the line. I hate the fact that they're calling it interim.
Yeah.
Just have the forfeit. Just have the WWE Women's Championship. It's just, ugh. Anyways, we got Charlotte Flair, Jade Cargill, Chelsea Green, Last Legend, and Tiffany Stratton, your Women's United States Champion. This match got 13 minutes and 5 seconds. Talk about exciting matches. Talk about exciting finishes. And they did the right thing here. And your winner and the new interim WWE Women's Champion, Chelsea Green. I was so happy that Chelsea Green won. That was my pick. I didn't think that they would ever pull it off. I hate the fact that it's interim because I think that that's the only reason they did it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of drives me insane a little bit. But outside of it, I still am happy that she's the winner. I'm still happy she's the champion. I'm still happy on SmackDown. We get to celebrate Chelsea Green with that belt. That's what I'll say. What is your thoughts?
I love that it was dedicated to Michael P.S. Hayes.
That was fun.
That was
fun. That was fun. I like I said, I love everything about it. Chelsea Green deserves to be champion.
And she might end up being champion for a while because she makes the most sense to be the one to lose to Rhea Ripley because it doesn't really hurt her in any way because at this point, Chelsea Green is really just unkillable. So I get that, whereas other people, it may not make sense at the time or this, that, or whatever. But, Rhea's going to be out for a while. And if Chelsea Green keeps that belt all the way to Rhea coming back, that can make for some fun TV.
I'm with it. And here's the thing. I Chelsea Green, once again, going back to it, business. She makes money. It's great. And the reason why is because she comes out there, and if you give her 30 seconds of TV time, she will maximize those 30 seconds. If you give her 3 minutes, she will maximize those 3 minutes. If you give her 10 minutes, she will maximize those 10 minutes. She is when I look at every wrestler, man, woman, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You should treat everything like Chelsea Green does. Most people bitch and piss and moan because they only got a 2-minute segment or only got a 30-second segment or only got a minute segment. She just went, okay, I'm going to make sure that that's the best minute. That's the best 30 seconds. That's the best 2 minutes that you could possibly see. When everybody bitches about doing those commercial breaks, that they have, right? She was one of those people doing them and maximizing them to the point that they had to start showing them. It's just, you got to put the stuff in. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I just told you we should be pushing Carmelo Hayes. So I do want these young talents pushed. However, some of the young talents have to take a page out of Chelsea Green's book. And if they're going to keep shoveling shit on you, you have to keep digging yourself out until you're undeniable.
She's
I
the
agree.
female version of Kurt Angle. She can't go as well as Kurt Angle could.
Not wrestling wise, but entertainment wise.
I mean, Kurt Angle is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, not just professional wrestling, legit.
I was going to say, after we're going to talk about Chad Gable in a minute, and I would say Chad Gable is definitely the embodiment of Kurt Angle, and he has now learned the entertainment form of it. So just throwing that out there. Talk about that in a second. We have one match to talk about before we talk about Chad Gable. Well, this will probably be a little shorter. It was the Human Monies on a Pole match. $100,000 on the pole. And this match only got 6 minutes and 50 seconds, but it doesn't need a lot of time because it's supposed to be entertaining. Danhausen would defeat Dominic Mysterio. We got the Mini-Housens involved. We got, including Torito. Torito was the one Mini-Housen that was dealing out an ass whooping everybody. So it was nice to see Torito back. And on top of that, we had JD McDonough fighting. His head was bigger than any single one of the Mini-Housens, just by the way. That kid's got a massive gargantuan head. But anyways, Danhausen wins, and then we find out that those wonderful Danhausen bucks were inside of the bag. Those I do believe Triple H said that he somehow ended up with $1 trillion Danhausen buck. I mean, I was entertained. I was sports entertained. That's all I'm saying.
I was entertained. I understand there were reports about Dom being a little unhappy with his character direction for the past year or so. I can see that. I kind of understand that. I can kind of agree with that at different points. But at the end of the day, we talk about a lot. He's on TV every week. He does maximize his minutes and such. So I would like to see him doing different things. I would agree with that. But at the end of the day, you have two people that are making a lot of money, and you're in a match where you're kind of poking fun at money. It does make a lot of sense, but I would like to go see, them both go do different things.
And I think Dirty Dom will get his time.
Yeah.
Much like Chelsea Green. I think it's coming. It's just, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. I think he's a proven commodity. And once again, as you point out, he's maximized all of his time. That is why he is basically the face of Triple A. I mean, there's other great things on there, but Triple A has caught on so much that they had to move the show to the MGM Grand.
Yeah.
They had to go to bigger venue because that's how much people want to go see Triple A right now. And you can't say that and two of the names that are on top of that, and I'm sorry, and I don't think anybody can disagree, Dominic Mysterio and, of course, El Grande Americano.
You can add a third name, Undertaker.
Well, yeah, booking. He's my pick for Booker of the Year currently.
Yep, same.
And now Roman Reigns might be giving a shot to a AAA competitor because of Rey Mysterio. There you go. This is what it is. But let's talk about Chad Gable. Chad Gable would defeat Penta to become your new WWE Intercontinental Champion in 11 minutes and 10 seconds. And talk about feel-good moments. Yes. Does it in his home state. Does it in front of his family. Great match with Penta. Penta showing all the class in the world, putting the belt on him. Loved it. Loved those moments. There was a lot of respect there. Great, both of them. Chad Gable has always been good in the ring at the basics and stuff like that. And he's super athletic.
Yep.
He has become, in the last couple of years, one of the most entertaining. And when you talk about somebody who got shit shoveled on them, Shorty G. And he brought it up. Shorty G. To go from Shorty G, and then they get saddled with a joke gimmick like El Grande Americano to only make it work. And then his injury, when it was starting to work, you would think that, and then somehow you up the stakes because Kaiser makes it work even better. Yep. And that leads to then the match of the year thus far in Mask versus Mask. And now you culminated at SummerSlam with a great match against Penta and crowning him the Intercontinental Champion. Listen, I said it before. I'll say it again. This should be the start of strapping the rocket ship right to Chad Gable. He is the modern day Kurt Angle, period.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Beautiful moment after. No, it's a beautiful moment afterwards. I didn't like the mug root beer guy dancing in the background.
That was weird. Now, I'm glad you brought that up because I was kind of pissed about that. I'm like, if you want the mug root beer guy involved, do it during the Danhausen Dominic Mysterio match.
Yeah,
that's where comedy belonged.
But beautiful moment, and he's the right person to have that belt. and really make it what it once was, that workhorse title. And it has been at times. And I'm not saying that Penta was a bad champion in any way whatsoever. He did a lot with it, but there's a lot of guys that are hungry for that title, and he can go out there and have killer matches with all of them, killer programs with them, not just the matches, just interesting back and forth on the mic and great matches, and really get himself in a prime position for a strong Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, time period. So strap the rocket, baby.
Main event of the evening time, World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Your champion, your tribal chief, the big dog, Roman Reigns, taking on Seth freaking Rollins. Match got 33 minutes and 25 seconds. At the end of the day, your winner and still the World Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns. No surprise there.
No surprise.
Listen, the match was fine. Yeah. If I hadn't already seen this match 50 times. Like, all of their stuff, when they're doing all the extra moves and they're doing all the throwback things, we've seen this match before. As a matter of fact, it happened at that Royal Rumble where Seth won by disqualification. Yeah. Where he came out in the Shield gear.
Yeah.
So there was nothing new here. And it's weird to pretend that there was something new here.
It really felt like they really wanted to justify that main event position, so they made this is the ending of their feud. They're not going to feud anymore. They did the fist thing, so now they're not friends, but they're not enemies anymore, and blah blah blah. And I just didn't buy it. And I think Kurt Angle put it best, where he did the image of him being an honorary Shield member. He's like, "Don't forget about me too." And I'm like I could have just cared less about this. We knew Roman was going to win. We knew the match was gonna be fine. It was gonna be solid, but it wasn't gonna be new. It wasn't gonna be spectacular. They weren't gonna do anything different. But fist bump. I mean, I guess if Dean Ambrose showed up, that would have been interesting.
I was gonna say the only person who won in this match was Dean Ambrose, because they gave him or John Moxley, we should say, because they gave him all the free press in the world.
Yeah.
They made the crowd want John Moxley.
Yeah.
Newsflash, folks, he's on another channel. So all you did is make people want to tune in on Wednesday so they can see John Moxley.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big flaw. And even Roman with his sour grape. I know some people are like, oh, they shot out Dean. No, they didn't. He was shitting on Dean Ambrose leaving. So it's kind of great. And then, it was always me and Seth, because we're the ones that stuck it out when the other guys left. That wasn't just a shot at Punk. That was a shot at Moxley. Come on.
And for the record, Moxley stuck around for a long time in WWE and was given a lot of shit to work with and did a lot with it.
Did a lot more than Roman did.
Yeah.
Roman was shoved down their throats.
Yeah.
That's what makes it funny, because let's talk about that. Let's go to Raw. Let's just, because we got to go there. One of the best things of the night. LA Knight, finally getting his moment. And Roman Reigns, once again, I'm pretty sure, because Roman's a company guy, I'm pretty sure that I'm sure that they went out there and did the professional thing. But I give credit to Roman Reigns for helping get what LA Knight wanted to say over, because he did exactly what he needed to do. Roman went out there, which I don't think he could have done years ago when we talk about when people were shoving down throat. LA Knight goes out there, he's kind of complaining. Roman just kind of cuts him off and says, that's what your problem is. All you do is complain. All you do is piss and moan. You ain't earned nothing. You're at the back of the line. Prove it. And that was it. That was great, because then we got the LA Knight response. Telling him, about shoving down throats, you should know about that. And getting things, if any of us got the opportunities. Once again, it went back to a lot of things that Punk said during the feud, which are all true. Once again, as Punk always says, if you tell three truths, you can tell all the lies you want after that. I thought LA Knight did more. Mind you, he's been over. And the first thing people said when Triple H made his dumb comment on night 1 of SummerSlam, when they brought up the Damian Priest, when he did take questions from the media, which you notice he didn't take questions from the media night 2, right? I wonder why. Because somebody had the balls to say, hey, Damian Priest has been very judgmental about how you push guys here in WWE. And Triple H's response was what? And I'll paraphrase it, because I was just saying it, but I was saying it where it matters. He said, and I quote, if you make money, if you get yourself over, we will push you. Okay. Cool. Good point. LA Knight.
Yeah.
When we get to Raw, LA Knight. How long? LA Knight has spent about 3 years as being one of the most over guys in the company. 3 years. Not flash in the pan. Not that he caught fire. And this is not a shot. I don't want this to be a shot, so I'm going to say this up front. It's not like Kofi Mania, where everybody went crazy for Kofi, and then Kofi got the win, and they all went away, right?
Yeah.
That was a brief period of time. Remember, Kofi comes in an elimination chamber as the surprise, and then it went to Mania. It was great. I was at that Mania. I was at Mania 35, and I loved seeing him win that belt. And it's one of my favorite moments of all time. Okay. Only outshadowed that moment. Only outshadowed by 2 moments I've seen live, and that was Cody Rhodes finishing the story at WrestleMania 40, and Matt Cardona and Nick Gage at Homecoming, which. Listen, I've been to Manias. That match was not just a match. The atmosphere was insane. There's actually Matt Cardona just put out a documentary about it on YouTube. Go check it out. Anyways, going back to the thing at hand, LA Knight has the proving power. LA Knight has been one of the most over and most highest selling merch guys for over 3 years now.
Yeah.
Why? And I get it. I said last year, the last season, not this new season of Unreal, the last season of Unreal, we kind of got a peak there. He did drop the ball on something that they were trying. But that didn't mean that you don't go back to the well. Especially when he's still over with the crowd. The crowd still puts him over. And now he goes out there and solidifies it with Roman again. We're probably not going to get, once again, to my point earlier when you were saying about Trick Williams in the ladder match, I'll believe it when I see it. Now Triple H needs to live up to his word and say, hey, you be a top guy when you're over, because we have the guy who's been over for 3 years that you have not made a top guy. He sells a ton of merch. I think the only people that have been in front of LA Knight for merch are probably Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Danhausen currently.
Yeah, probably.
And that fluctuates. LA Knight has been in the number 1 spot. LA Knight's always in your top 5, and he's been in the number 1 spot. But he fluctuates. Those guys I just named, with the exception of Danhausen, no offense, he's just a merch machine. With the exception of him, those other guys are top guys in the business, undisputedly, right? Why isn't LA Knight?
He's certainly been doing his finest work over the past month on the mic, and he's always, he's been a great promo over the years, but like he's been doing some of his best work over the past couple of weeks. He's got some killer promos over the past couple of weeks. He's got.
I'm getting fired up twice today.
There's been times where he's, he hasn't completely lost his aura, but there's been times where he's certainly looked. He's been lost in the sauce, and he certainly looked like he was lost in the sauce, but he was still over with the crowd. He's not lost in the sauce now. He is on point. And what do you do? What do you do? Do you give him the belt?
Strap the rocket to him,
right? Like you should.
Why not?
You should. He should.
And we can make excuses. I will say this: we can make excuses till the cows come home. You have Obafemi in the background. You have this person. You have that person. You can fix these problems. That doesn't mean you compound them. You can't tell me that we're really into pushing Obafemi when and granted, a great match with him and Brock and everything that happened, the passing of the torch, yada yada. But that was still supposed to be a world title fight,
right?
So you foregone your world title. I could have fixed the Oba problem in booking real quick if they were really thinking LA Knight. It would have been easy. You know what you would have done? Okay, if you feel so strongly about fighting Brock Lesnar, then we'll give you Brock Lesnar in the main event of SummerSlam. But that suffices your contract for a title shot. So instead of a title shot, you get the main event spot, because we promise you the main event of SummerSlam for the belt. You still get that main event. So now you don't have the title shot. So if you feel so strongly that you have to go after Brock, you cash your title shot in for that opportunity with Brock, and now you have to work your way back up, which, trust me, that wouldn't hurt Obafemi at all. He's over. And then you could go and say, okay, now we're going to move LA Knight, maybe give him a short title run, maybe give him, whatever, or at least put him in the main event scene for 3 months and see where we go. And we could have built out Obafemi to get his title shot at WrestleMania. Just throwing it out there. Because you can put Obafemi against anybody. Because he's just over.
Well, I guess that is part of the big question. Is now Obafemi, he has slayed the beast, and what do you do with him? Because the only thing that makes sense is to put him in there with Roman, but
And to put the belt on him. You have to put the belt on him at this point.
Yeah. So it's like, then what? You know, what about some of these other guys like in LA Knight where it's like, we already should have done it. Now he's really, really hot. We don't want to put it on Oba and then just feed LA Knight to him. That doesn't really work either.
What I fear is that they did something for the first time, and I mentioned it earlier, and that's why I mentioned it earlier. At the post show, when CM Punk was on the podium and he was on his thing, it was great. They mentioned that Oba Femi gets to choose which champion he fights.
Which is
we always assumed
that one. Yeah.
Ready for this? We always assumed it was for the show you were on. My fear is what they're going to end up doing is they'll get the program done between Punk and Owens and then just have Oba smash Punk or Owens for the belt. And then that gets them out of having him face Roman right away. And then you could do an LA Knight program. And at one end, I'd be happy for Roman, or sorry, not Roman. I'd be happy for LA Knight. But on the other hand, I think to your point earlier and why you're passionate and why other people are passionate about what happened in the number one contenders match is I think there's a full dance card on SmackDown. I think that there's a lot of matches we want to see. We want to see Sami Zayn get another shot. We want to see Finn Balor get a legitimate shot. We want to see Gunther back in the main event because he is the top heel in the business. We want to see, and even though they were shitting on, we want to see Kevin Owens make his triumphant return. We want to see Cody Rhodes as a heel step up. We want to see Randy Orton go after that illustrious 15th championship again. So, like I said, and I'm not even listing Trick Williams, or Carmelo Hayes could move up the ladder, and I could go on and on. We could be here all day, right? But that's why I'm saying Trick Williams is in a bad spot, and the only reason I would have kept the United States title on him in this situation is because there's so many moving parts that at least it gives him a high profile. The same reason Chad Gable being Intercontinental Champion right now is a great move. It's a good thing for Trick because it's keeping him at that next precipice where you can move him up at any time. And now I think you're getting lost in the sauce because yes, Trick Williams is a commodity, and yes, he will be a future world champion. I've stated that on many times, and I believe that in my heart. However, right now, do you put him over a Kevin Owens? Do you put him over a Finn Balor? Do you put him over Gunther? Do you put him over Sammy? Do you put him over Cody? Do you put him over Randy? There's a lot of names. Well, on Raw, there's not that problem.
It's true.
Maybe you move him to Raw.
Well, that's the thing. Raw is a little barren. Their intercontinental scene is pretty strong, but their main event scene is not. And but if we're at a point right now where there's there's two number one contenders or two people with championship opportunities with Kevin and Oba, but you got to look at LA Knight as someone who was right there. They're doing some sort of a tournament, right? So that's going to be some sort of a title defense for Roman. Isn't that the point of that tournament they're doing?
Oh, the AAA? The AAA one? Is that what it is?
Yeah, other people involved in it. Yes.
Yeah.
My prediction is that's going to be a Penta. Okay, so now you put Penta in the main event scene. So...
Well, that'll be like, unfortunately, I think the winner of that tournament is going to be one and done, unfortunately, but whatever. It is
but still, that's just time chewed up.
Yeah.
For a number one contender. So now you got like 3 or 4 number one contenders. I guess you're rolling in a Money in the Bank season, so then someone's going to have a briefcase. How many people are number one contender? Like that just doesn't work.
But that's and honestly, that's what I was trying to get to earlier when I was saying about the whole. I love Trick Williams, but I don't know because there's so much going on, especially on SmackDown. Like in particular, then as you just mentioned, they're kind of padding Raw with like silly shit until you get to Oba and that, or this LA Knight thing grows legs, which it should. Like the promo was great. It made me want to see that match.
It is very interesting how there was a trade basically of CM Punk for a Danhausen because it was like, Netflix was like, oh, we want that Danhausen money on our show. And it's like, okay, but we have to move someone over here. So we move Punk over here for fresh matchups and stuff. So like, I get that. Could a Cody and a Randy go over to Raw and get involved in the Roman thing?
Randy, maybe. Okay. Once again, like business hat on. Yeah. Randy, I'd love. Cody, I'm glad that him and Roman aren't near each other. I would like to keep them apart for longer. Great. They had a great story. They had a great run, kid. Someday we can go back to it. But I still think it's too soon. because they spent 3 years, almost 4, feuding with each other primarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's we've only been 2 years out of that. Let's stretch out. But I can see it. Like I think you're gonna have to. And like I just said, I think to your point, if you were interested in moving a Trick Williams or making him Mr. Money in the Bank or something like that, then Raw's got to be the place, right?
Yeah.
Because I think SmackDown's just too flooded right now. I think SmackDown won the wrestling lottery with moving Punk over there because you now have a fresh main event scene.
Yes.
Like it was kind of stale with Cody.
It was stale
and
with Cody.
Now Punk can wrestle all these people we want to see.
Yeah, because who has Punk really feuded with on that show?
Not many, except for like if you count Randy, because Randy and him have been around forever. Right. Cody and him have had a feud now, right? Kind of, not even a full form feud. They could do more there, right?
I guess him and
Gunther and Punk had a little program. I wouldn't call it a feud. They had a program. Yeah. Remember, Gunther lost the title to Punk, right? Yeah. Before Punk then coughed it up to Seth Rollins,
but that's
right?
Like that's all fresh,
right. Yeah. But that's still fresh because that's just a little program. That wasn't a feud. That was a program. Sammy and Punk can now have a feud. They had the match, but that's not a feud. Obviously, right. I just said you're going to print money right now with Kevin Owens versus CM Punk because that feud is going to be money printing, right? That's why I'm willing to do that. And like I said, there's so many other challenges, and Punk is willing to take on anybody we know. Punk's willing to even if it's not a title match, Punk's willing to have a match on SmackDown against the Carmelo Hayes. He's willing to have a match against the Trick Williams. He's willing to have a match against anybody that they'll put him in the ring against. CM Punk's that kind of guy. Think about it. He did an AEW too. So you can't just be like, oh, he doesn't do it. In AEW, he was fighting anybody. Think about it. His first hand-picked opponent was Darby Allin. He could have picked anybody. His first hand-picked opponent could have been Kenny Omega. It could have been, whoever. His first feuds were Darby Allin and MJF. And remember, MJF isn't the MJF of now. That was the MJF on the rise. Yep. And I'm not saying anything against it because I think that feud made took that MJF to that next level. So I'm saying Punk is happy doing the Terry Funk and just making the next generation. Yeah. So he's in the perfect spot to do that, in my opinion. I know some people don't agree with that, but I think that the proof is in the pudding.
I think if you went back in time to when he signed back with WWE and you were to say that, you're going to be a 3-time champion, people would have laughed. Like, now maybe he'll get one, but he's won the belt 3 times. I get he lost it within, like 2 minutes there or whatever, but he is a 3-time champion since he's been back. I mean, kudos for him.
Well, but here's the thing. And he's proven his worth there. You think about it, that time was a storyline driver, losing the Rollins, and then Rollins, of course, getting injured again, led to him winning the belt again because we needed a champion to go into Mania. We needed a big high-profile match. Roman versus Punk was that match, right? And then now, once again, we have QB1 kind of get a little bit of an injury. There were some nagging injuries. They decided to put the belt on Sami Zayn to see if that would work. It got the Dolph Ziggler. Not, once again, no shade, but everybody was happy for about 2 seconds, and then the internet shit all over it, right? And so they went, okay, well, now since they didn't go the way we wanted, we can't rematch Sammy versus Cody at SummerSlam because the crowd is going to poo-poo it, right? So we have to do the next best thing. So everybody went, okay, we're going to call for Punk, who's on vacation. We're going to call him back from vacation. We're going to make it so he's going to be in the match of SummerSlam. The only thing they did differently is originally we thought they were going to just give the belt back to Cody and then have Cody versus Punk at SummerSlam. They did it the other way around, which was kind of smart because nobody saw it coming.
Yeah. Now, Raw's the tricky one because there's really only, right now, there's really only 3 credible main event guys, and that's Roman, that's LA Knight, and that's Oba Femi, because Seth Rollins isn't. He just lost. So, I mean, obviously, Seth Rollins is an amazing wrestler. He's a main event guy. But, like, he just lost, so he's not right there at the tippy top of the card in terms of storytelling and such. So, he needs to go through some sort of a program to rebuild his value to be back in that main event scene. You got those 3 guys. Who else?
Yeah, I'm with you. That Solo Sikoa, you can argue him. You could argue Jacob Fatu, but they've kind of started those things already. So, but Solo definitely is entertaining.
Yeah. Solo would be interesting, but that's not new necessarily, though, right?
Right. No, I agree with you. I'm agreeing with it's not new, but
same thing has worked with Roman. So maybe this is a Dom opportunity for him to start moving up the card. Him in a Roman program or him in an Oba thing or whatever. That is new. That's interesting. So I don't know. I think people are going to move. I think that's the only way you do it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But with that being said, we have gone really long talking about SummerSlam, but there was a lot to unpack. There was a lot to unpack from that. There was a lot to unpack from the show. So it's always good to get it out there.
We had to give WWE its due because for the next couple of weeks, it's all AEW, baby.
Woo! Yeah, I know. We had MJF return at Arena Mexico, and we didn't even get to that, which is fine because, like you said, I'm pretty sure the next few weeks are going to be dominated by nothing but all in an AEW talk. It's just so be prepared. The sickos are going to rejoice. The universe marks, not so much. Just throwing it out there.
Sorry, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Listen, SummerSlam was really, it worked out well. I think it was a better WrestleMania than WrestleMania this year.
I was wrong and happily wrong. I thought night 2 was actually better than what it was supposed to be. I'm not just saying that about the Kevin Owens surprise did help it, but as overall, I think that the pacing and the matches were better. Night 1 did have had some spots. Yeah. I did like I said, I enjoyed Punk and Cody, but I think it could have been better. Especially because I like the ending to me with the thing. And I thought Liv and Io was amazing. Yep. I thought that was really, really good. But if you're talking about more entertainment, Buck, I thought night 2, technically I was not looking forward to it, but I thought I was more entertained, with the exception of the main event.
Yeah.
I could have I could have not watched the main event and been okay. And I know somebody will think that's sacrilege, but like I said, I've seen that match before. I've seen the match before. It's like
I watched it the next day, but I turned it off. I'm like, nah, I'll watch this tomorrow. No interest.
I'm just saying, it was something that I've already seen before. So it was like, But outside of that, good. So I'm with you. I thought the SummerSlam went over well, and we're now on the road to All In, like full time on the road to All In, because that's the next big event at the end of August. So we're going to find out how many asses they put in the seats at Wembley. Yeah, there it is. As that card keeps building out, the card's building out pretty well. Yeah. Now adding MJF not into the title match, but adding MJF into the scheme of things.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. That being said, though, if you want to go support Fanlight Zone, head on over to fanlightzone.com. Go ahead, get those social media links. Follow us on all the social medias because you want to check it out. Once again, Ken M does an amazing job of live posting during wrestling events. Sometimes he does it during the weekly events, especially if something big happens. He also does a great job of it, especially during the big events. So that's your Saturday night main events, your pay-per-views, your PLEs, all that happy jazz. So make sure you're following us there to talk more pro wrestling. And of course, to get more content about comic books and pop culture, of course, fanlightzone.com's got all your got all your reviews. Your interviews are over on the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. So if you're watching us on Twitch or X, make sure you get over to the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. If you're already on the YouTube channel, you've already got part of this done. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, click that bell icon for the notification. So click that bell icon for notifications so you know whenever we go live or whenever a new video gets put up. And of course, hit that thumbs up to help us wrestle down the algorithm. But we are drawing to a close. So until next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we will be live right here on the YouTube channel. For myself, for Miss Sammy, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most importantly, later wrestling fans.